time has, I mean, there is no other option now, but to be very fast in adopting new technology, to keep innovating, how we can mitigate or how we can adjust with the changing reality across the world, technological changes, demographic changes, and on and on. And so in this innovation and in this time of reflection, in this time of more speed, but we have to also be careful and think that, do we want more highways for humans in the name of high speed, or we want to keep highways for elephants? In America, especially on the national highways, even humans are not allowed. If anybody ever seen walking on national highways, they are given hundreds of dollars of fine. There's a penalty. Whereas in India, when I was traveling for my second book's research in the Himalayas, I saw these animal corridors where elephants are walking on the national highways. The traffic must stop. Humans must coexist with animals. There is no monopoly of humans on any highway, especially in India or even other Asian countries. But so look at this contrast, where even humans are not allowed on national highways. United States, speed is the primary motive, right? Speed and efficiency. And India, where there are elephants walking on national highways, not just elephants, of course, camels and donkeys and all kinds of animals, all kinds of wildlife you see on national highways. And people are okay with, people know they have to stop. There is no monopoly of humans. So that's, I think, great message from Indian culture that, you need to, or you're forced to enjoy natural resources, animals, wildlife, flora and fauna, and speed is not the primary motive. However hard we might try to imitate the West, we have to respect the biodiversity on highways, on our, in the cities, in the villages, in the towns, inside our homes, and on and on. So that's a great, I think, speed does not mean that we can, outcast all the other animals from our life. We have to coexist. So that's a good message, I think, from Indian culture, Asian cultures in general. Then, like I was already mentioned, but we also have to keep innovating for the changing reality. So more online courses. And ASU, here I mentioned an example from Arizona State University, where its president, Dr. Michael Crow, starting from 2002, he completely transformed that Arizona State University, where now for last 5 years, it keeps getting award for the most innovative campus in the United States. Sitting from India, probably sometimes we might have this stereotype that, oh, United States, America everything is perfect and everything is advanced and so on. No, that's not the case. And even here, many campuses are stuck with old technology. In fact, the obsolescence with older technologies I think is a bigger problem in the United States than in India, because here there is decades, maybe centuries of tradition of teaching with a set pattern, a set method. So to change those old habits is even harder than starting something fresh, which is the case, I think, in India or Nepal or other Asian cultures. There was nothing, so we are just starting new. We're setting up new universities, new departments, new technology, Zoom, and so on. But here in America, because the habits are so old, very, very hard to change. So Arizona State University comes across as a new example where they are continuously innovating, and they keep getting that award for more, most innovative campus. So you might you might take a look and how exactly how they're doing and how they are graduating more students, accepting more students, giving access to higher education at a massive level. Thousands and thousands of students are coming and they are succeeding. Admitting students is one thing, but graduating them also on time is another thing. So they are succeeding apparently on both those accounts. I've never been there in Arizona, but I just came across in my research, so I thought I'd share that. So more accessibility, which means that students from all minority communities, all kinds of disabilities, all kinds of backgrounds must have complete access to all our courses, all our resources, even in STEM fields. So biology, chemistry, physics, humanities, philosophy, all of those fields, how can we make them more accessible for all kinds of students? So that's the challenge, and that's a new reality, new normal, and we have to learn and adopt with it. No more aping America, so we cannot copy America anymore in terms of environmental resources, in terms of national highways, in terms of even, I think, many academic models that America is still stuck with, which are already obsolete now. So we cannot look at America as the ideal higher education scenario. We have to think really innovatively from Indian perspective or other Asian cultures or other non-Western cultures perspective. All right, let's go to fourth heading from that Dutch author. He talks about better collaborations. This is great. I think the webinar that Dr. Singh has invited me for, and all of us are now part of hundreds of people are, I think, speaking in this webinar. I think co-organized at least by Dr. Nilesh Kumar Singh in Moradabad. This is a great example of that better collaborations. Now, it's not the monopoly of, when we create new knowledge, it is not the monopoly anymore, I think, of the Western countries. A professor in Moradabad can take the lead and organize hundreds of scholars, hundreds of professors, hundreds of speakers from across the world. I don't know if this was possible 6 months back. Somebody sitting in a small town, let's say my own home state, Rajasthan, I was born in Pali. I can't imagine somebody in PG college in Pali taking the lead and organizing a huge global conference successfully. I think because of Zoom, because of this technology, because of the opportunity, now it's possible. So knowledge creation and knowledge transfer and knowledge sharing is not one-way traffic anymore. It's not that United States or United Kingdom or Germany will speak and the entire world, rest of the world will listen. No, Moradabad can create new knowledge, help create new knowledge, and the world has to listen. So that's the complete turning around is taking place, will take place more, and must take place more. That will be the new, clear, new beginning for the knowledge creation for the world, which is really great. So that's kind of new ways of collaborations. Less is more, meaning that when we come for even such meetings, let's say for conducting our departmental work, when we come together, we will be forced to be prepared really well for our meetings. So less time, but let's utilize that less time more effectively. So effective time management, global engagements, I already spoke about. Sharing of resources also means that not every university must have all the departments and all kinds of faculty. We can share resources much more easily now. Moradabad and Dallas can collaborate. Chandigarh and in New York can collaborate better because some expertise may be more in Chandigarh and some may be more in New York. So now everybody, I think, is on equal footing, must come on equal footing, and no more one-way traffic that was going on for decades. Reconnect and help. I think here, the picture I'm sure you're all familiar with. This is the Diya Jalao picture. So Diya Jalao and Thali Bajao. This was a great, I think, excellent example. I think it became a role model across the world when Indians started coming together, across neighborhoods, across the country, and everybody was lighting this candle, lighting this diya and clapping, and how inspiring it was, I think, for the world to see a country that is always marred by so many problems, so many issues, so less resources, less than 1/4 of the land resources compared to United States, more than 4 times the population in India compared to United States. And yet people, even in the time of pandemic, they come together, they are clapping together, dancing together, singing together, and spreading this light together. That's a great example of reconnection and morally supporting each other, encouraging each other. Do not lose heart, have faith, just keep fighting, keep surviving, and maybe think this will also pass. Like there was even a song sung by Bollywood celebrity that this shall also pass. Ye bhi waqt hai guzar jayega, waqt hai guzar jayega. So this is a great example of reconnecting, and then many other countries also followed the Indian example in Italy and America, and everybody started coming together at some fixed time and started clapping and started singing and dancing together in New York and Italy and across the world. So yeah, I already spoke on flipped knowledge creation, bottom up, grassroots, Moradabad or Mumbai. So all those new ways of knowledge creation will happen and is already happening. Greater access from and to society. Also, I already mentioned that there's no more one-way traffic of knowledge, but it's going to be global creation of knowledge and global sharing of knowledge and resources. Of course, all of this will mean cleaner environment. It already means it's already reflecting in less carbon emissions across the world because vehicular automobile pollution is way down, and waste creation is down, wildlife and habitat are showing up again in our cities. Deer and all kinds of different animals are showing up because the traffic is less. Energy consumption is also less because again, when consumption is less, production is less, and so that means energy consumption is also less. So all of this will mean less and less CO2 emission into our atmosphere, which is good news for our environment. So cleaner environment is another sort of a good news from the pandemic. So all of these are sort of good news that are as a byproduct of this pandemic. Lastly, this is I think the last slide. So I hope I can wind up by saying that like in Hindi, we used to say, I come from Rajasthan, so Hindi is my mother tongue. So हमेशा कहा जाता था कि जो होगा भगवान की मर्जी. So this is a good time for us to be reminded of that we are simply a tiny, not even tiniest, one of the tiniest creatures in this whole cosmos. We need to be modest. Humans do not have all the answers. We will never have all the answers. It's time to be modest, time to accept and say, Bhagwan ki marzi, jo hoga dekha jayega, Bhagwan ki marzi, keep calm and say, God willing. So this is, I think, another good reminder this pandemic brings to us that let's just be modest and accept the reality as it comes. Thank you, sir. With that, मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम देता हूं, जैसा आप कहते हैं भारत.
Thank you very much. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर. आपके जुड़ने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर. बहुत अच्छा आपने हम लोगों के लिए बताया सर. और अब मैं कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए
डॉक्टर जी के सिंह साहब
जी,
डॉक्टर पंकज जैन जी, आप मेरी आवाज सुन पा रहे हैं?
शायद.
Can you listening to me?
Yes, I'm listening. Go ahead. बोलिए.
Okay. मैं डॉक्टर युगेंद्र सिंह फ्रॉम वदाबाद केसीटी कॉलेज. आप इस समय यूएसए में हैं?
जी.
बहुत अच्छा लगा. देखिए, ये सब हम लोग कोरोना के जो साइड नेगेटिव इफेक्ट है उनकी बात तो कर रहे हैं, लेकिन ये पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट की बात है कि हम लोग पूरे विश्व में एक दूसरे छोर से बैठे हुए एक दूसरे से संपर्क कर पा रहे हैं. ये इसका जिक्र आपने भी किया है और हमको भी लग रहा है कि बहुत सारे शैक्षिक जगत के नए आयाम आएंगे और हम लोग नई विधाएं खोजेंगे. हम लोग नए कल की ओर जा रहे हैं. ये वायरस तो खैर कुछ समय के लिए है. निश्चित रूप से हमारा जो वैज्ञानिक समुदाय है, जो साइंटिस्ट है, उस पर अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं और हम लोगों को इस महामारी से जल्दी निजात मिलेगी, मैं सोचता हूँ ऐसा. लेकिन ये हमारे लिए शैक्षिक जगत के लिए, हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम के लिए रियली ये बहुत फ्रूटफुल है कि हम लोग एक नई विधा खोज रहे हैं, एक नया डायमेंशन हम लोग को मिल रहा है. आपने बहुत अच्छा उद्बोधन हम लोग को दिया, बहुत अच्छा लगा और बहुत बहुत आभार आपका.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to welcome our next speaker, Professor Shivani Sharma from Chandigarh. She is our keynote speaker for today's session. Please, Professor Shivani Sharma from Chandigarh.
शिवानी मैम नमस्कार. डॉक्टर सुनील चौधरी मुरादाबाद से.
नमस्कार. सबसे पहले तो मुझे
शाम की नमस्कार हम भी कर ले पहले.
बिल्कुल योगेंद्र जी, मैंने तो सुबह ही आपको पहले प्रणाम किया. अनिलेश जी की सारी टीम मुझे याद है और बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा था और मैं सोच ही रही थी मैं शुरुआत आप ही लोगों को याद करके करूंगी बात कहना अपनी. बहुत अच्छा लगा. मुझे लगता है इंदौर की बजाय ये ज्यादा बेहतर है कि यहाँ से कम बातचीत हो रही है, देख रहे हैं. ये भी एक मुलाकात का जरिया है. उम्मीद है आप सब ठीक हैं, कुशल हैं.
हाँ मैडम, एक अच्छी बात और है मैडम, यहाँ अपने घर में चाय आराम से मिल सकती है, वहाँ दिक्कत होती थी इंदौर में.
हाँ बिल्कुल. पर वो जो चाय हम लोगों ने मिलके बनाई है उसका स्वाद अभी भी है. Thank you. Let me begin by thanking the organizers of this webinar, and I was wondering that you have invited me to speak little early. I was expecting that I'll be the last one to speak, but now I'll make most of the time. I'm thankful to Anilesh ji for thinking of me to be one of the participants in this webinar. So the topic that I have decided to speak upon is locating the meaning of life. Like every thinker probably has touched upon this topic off and on in their lectures and talks. So I believe that it's little early to think and ponder over the post COVID-19 impacts or effects that it is going to, drive us through, because the cases are still rising. As we know that Delhi is facing worst of times, like 3,000 in 24 hours. So it is not a small number. It is a worrisome issue. But being humans, it is always our priority, and that priority, or I would say it is our fortune, that we can speculate things which are in the future. We can think of them, we can infer, we can deduce what we have from the present scenario, from the present circumstances, and we can prepare a blueprint, or we can prepare a guideline as to what is to be done, what steps are to be taken in future. So probably even we can talk about the transformation that humans will go through. Now, it is not only that we can talk of the consequences or the outcomes that this coronavirus will end up with, or it will leave us with. Rather, the transformation that will take place among human mind and human psyche and human consciousness, they will be equally significant. So, needless to say that this has COVID-19 has emerged as a universal crisis, rather a global crisis, irrespective of all the geographical conditions. And certainly, I'll just read out my paper, because it is always better to speak what I have in mind. So as of now, I would say that as there was one participant who was saying, Rajan from BHU. So prevention is better than cure. Certainly, I also believe it. And apart from that, sanitization, let's say, not only sanitization, physical distancing, helping and contributing PM's fund, that is another way. And to be in empathy, to be in an empathetic relationship with those who have lost their dear ones, or those who have suffered this virus. I mean, this is the only possible course of action that one can immediately adopt, and be there for those who are needy. So, and certainly it is evident that the COVID-19 has emerged as a global crisis, as a threat, which has left humanity in deep crisis. Every nation has adopted some common preventive measures, but it would be not wrong to assume that all countries have their own specific ways to address a crisis of national level. This may get customary conduct, this may get reflected in their set of cultural norms, customary conduct, and values dictating behavioral trends. For example, India has very well displayed that doing or performing namaskar is the best way to greet each other. And especially when we see philosophy of yoga, it establishes before you talk of samadhi, they propound yam and niyam. So these are the basic behavioral, or let's say the virtues which are needed to control and mind one's body. So जैसे विवेकानंद ने बोला कि a man who cannot handle a football is not worth to talk of higher goals like of Atmagyan. He is not fit to talk of Atmagyan if he cannot control his body. So yam and niyam that has been offered by yoga philosophy is certainly or of great significance. And also we have this concept of purusharth in place, whereby moksha being the highest goal, it commands a class of disciplined individuals who can exercise restrained lifestyle in order to have higher aspirations. I keep wondering why Indian philosophy, or why Indian culture in specific, keeps talking of, believing in renunciation. Why do we believe in renunciation? Why do we why do we at all have to have this sannyas ashram in place in the last of the after grihast, brahmacharya, grihast, everything has been so there is a decorum, there is जिसको हम बोलते हैं औचित्य है हर चीज का उसमें. तो संन्यास के प्रति क्यों हम हमारे में उदासीनता को जनरेट करने की शुरू से ही बचपन से एक घरों में सिखाने शुरू कर देते हैं हिंदुस्तानी परिवारों में कि एक उदासीन टच रहे हमारे एटीट्यूड में. व्हाई इज दैट we have to inculcate, or it becomes so natural a part of us that we really believe in the philosophy of detachment. So maybe because this is what is needed at end of the, especially when you are facing the midlife. So probably that is the only reality that detachment serves best. So the fundamental question that has kept human intelligence throughout the ages on toes is again the question my previous speaker also had raised this question, the aim of life, the purpose of life, what is the goal of life? And every culture would address it in its own way. Greeks would say knowledge is virtue, knowledge is the highest, it is the summum bonum, it is the highest good that one must look out for knowledge, one must achieve knowledge. And similarly, if we consider Advait Vedanta as the most refined version of Indian philosophy, we have them saying as I am Atma Brahma. So Brahma is the supreme reality, is to be realized. So every culture has its own way to address the aim of life, the purpose of life. I'm reminded of Viktor Frankl's book here, whereby Search for Meaning of Life, whereby he has survived a Nazi camp, and he writes this book when he gets a chance to, after surviving, and he narrates his story that there are two kinds of camps, whereby there are people who are not taking good care of their bodies, and they cannot perform any good work for the Nazis. And there are other lots whereby people who can sustain themselves, or people who can actually work harder and prove their worth for the Nazi people. So they tend to survive. So this body is the medium to reach some higher goal, which in Purusharth is said to be the moksha. So moksha is the ultimate goal that we all look for, but there is a way to it. So the goals, the aim, the objective of life would define the course of that lifestyle. The aim presupposes there is a particular, if I wish to win Olympics, I must have some disciplined lifestyle, whereby which can at least, if not lead me to victory, but at least lead me to that field whereby I can prove my worth. So discipline and the goal, they are interconnected. And similarly, if this corona thing has not even now it has not shown us or given us any lesson, nature will come again. It will give us another blow to our arrogance and ignorance. So humans need to learn. But as a student of philosophy, which the topic that interests me most is this, the nature of crisis, what this crisis actually is doing to the human mind. What is the purpose of this crisis? What it leaves us with a message is that every crisis wakes us from a slumber, that we are sleeping over something which is volcanic, basically. So certainly it reminds us of our finitude, that how limited, how dependent, and how small we are, how finite we are. And with this, I'm reminded of this, the origin of this term crisis from krinos, that is a Greek term, which says that it refers to a stage whereby it talks of a judgment between life and death. That crisis means there are only two extremes. There is no middle path. Either you have to live or you have to die. So this was actually a medical term which was used in Greece and other cultures also. Krinos or Chrysone, there is a term, which says that that when the situation is so dicey that either a person is going to die or there is no other third option, that is the crisis situation. And similarly, Corona also has proved to every nation practically, about 200 countries, that yes, the situation is grim, the situation is serious enough that any crisis cannot be taken lightly. And of course, as William James would say, that philosophy is nothing, because we are students of philosophy, and certainly it would interest us to understand the nature of crisis. And William James would say that philosophy is nothing but a response to life. So the response to life will decide the meaning of life that we wish to give. And I'm reminded of Husserl concept of crisis. When he talks of crisis, what kind of crisis he talks of? Not only Husserl, we have a legacy behind Aristotle when he talks of conflict and decision in his Politics. It refers to a form of crisis. Augustine, when he talks of crisis of faith. So there are historical traces that can be very easily found, that the concept of crisis has actually led mankind to think over the significance of life itself, how important this life can be or could be. Not only this, certainly crisis is a stage which is necessary. You cannot avoid it. It is a stage which will not go further, you have to unfold some decision out of it. A fundamental change has to be made, otherwise it will continue. And of course, another very interesting point is that those who have remained insensitive to this, history has shown that if we remain insensitive to crisis, either we will be defeated, or we will become its victim, or we will survive it. So only wise men, those who can foresee, और those who can, अब अगर हम ध्यान से देखें तो हमारे लॉकडाउन मार्च में शुरू हुआ, डिक्लेयर जो पहला केस था वो जनवरी में या दिसंबर में शायद हो चुका था. So not that I'm trying to blame anybody, but there is a foresight, there is a vision that works at the level of leadership and at the level of society also, that we cannot all the time be dependent upon some external agency. So the wise people, those who can take note of the crisis, the gravity of the upcoming situation, they can convert a crisis into an opportunity. And this has happened when humanity realized that environment is going into bad hands, or environment is going into crisis. We started developing environmental friendly technology. We started developing energy saving machines. So practically we learn from crisis. And not only this, addressing a crisis is not just like addressing an ostensive we are not asking for an ostensive definition, just as we ask what is a table. So crisis develops or evolves its meaning while we handle it, while we fight with it. So every person will have its own experience. Probably we are the generation, our children and our parents, 3 generations or 4 generations maybe, they are, what they have experienced in the name of Corona is going to stay with them in the form of experience. And that experience is going to be a wisdom that will convert into wisdom. And then we will, or our children will tell their own children, God forbid that they face any such a dicey situation in life. But if things go wrong, they will have lessons in the form of wisdom of their elders and their own experiences. So crisis leaves human beings with experience, which is nothing but a response to life. As I just said, that William James says, philosophy is nothing but a response to life. So how we respond to this situation is in our own hands, and probably we are creating meaning of life in these days. Not only this, it is very interesting to observe that a crisis is never, it is always evolving. It is moving and creating a pressure. And this pressure comes to us in the form of fear and worry. We remain worried, we remain fearful that things might go wrong, which means that crisis it generates a fear because it is not yet finished. It is not already done. It is in the evolution. It is still going on. And suddenly, this suddenness element in crisis is the most important. That it appears that crisis has occurred suddenly, but it has not occurred suddenly. There were, it keeps showing, it gives us indications. See, there are two words, risk and crisis. When risk accumulates, when we fail to note any risk that has the potential, that is a potential crisis, if we fail to note that risk, it starts culminating. And then, as we say, Roman Empire had a fall, but it was not on one day. There was a series behind it. So things culminate into a bigger crisis when we overlook the minutest details of it. So a crisis also is like, it appears like a sudden event, but it is not sudden at all. There are indications which need to be observed and carefully considered of. And of course, it also generates a kind of self-immunity. Suppose now people are wondering that there is a possibility of herd immunity being in the offing, and no denying the fact that there is a possibility that all human beings, or let's say wherever it has to touch, it will become a class virus kind of a thing, that people will be like, they will become herd for this virus. So another point which is very interesting, that it creates morality, it boosts morality. Why? Because it creates a social concern, that not because of me, somebody else should fall ill. So it creates a moral concern for others also. And it also creates a responsible attitude towards one's own self, that I shouldn't fall sick so that I can take care of my family. So it creates morality and social solidarity. And very interestingly, the reference that I gave of Husserl, he mentions a very wonderful thing, that if you relate the concept of time and crisis, that the time in crisis moves so slow that one day feels as if it is like a year. He gives an example of a man or a woman who's in love with somebody. So the time flies like a super fast train, but a man who's away from his beloved, the time doesn't fly. So the crisis is, again, it reminds us that how important the time is while we are in the crisis. So the crisis reminds us of the scarcity of the time, or the importance of time, that we must not waste even a second without reflecting upon the consequences that crisis can lead us to. And similarly, and I'll just sum it up. The last point that I would wish to say, that worry and fear are the 2 points that crisis creates in human mind. Why? Because it is related to future. Crisis is directly related to our future, and this uncertain future creates worry and fear in our hearts and minds. But at the same time, this crisis also generates a ray of hope and anticipation, because of which we have warriors like who are working on vaccine, who are working across day and night in the hospitals, even in other sectors, administration sector also. So certainly it is not the case that we have to remain fearful and worried all the time. There is a ray of hope that those people who are sailing in the same boat, they have no other alternative but to stay together and work together and fight together. This is the probable message that I leave the floor with. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my views.
थैंक यू प्रोफेसर शिवानी शर्मा, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मैम आपका इतने अच्छा उद्बोधन के लिए। जैसा कि हम सबको पता है कि दैविक आपदाएं आती हैं, कष्ट देती हैं और जीवन छीनती हैं, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ अवसर और अनुभव भी आती हैं, अनुभव भी देखे जाते हैं। लॉकडाउन में लोगों को अनेक कठिनाइयों को सामना पूरे विश्व में ही करना पड़ा है, परंतु जीवन, समाज और राष्ट्र के प्रति एक नवचेतना का सृजन और संचार हुआ है। उसका दूरगामी प्रभाव होगा ऐसा मुझे लगता है। सामाजिक शिष्टाचार बदल रहे हैं, लोग दूर से अभिवादन कर रहे हैं, धार्मिक और सामाजिक आयोजनों में भीड़ कम हो रही है, स्वच्छता स्वभाव बनने लग गई, प्रगतिशील लोग काली मिर्च, अदरक, तुलसी, लौंग और यानी किस चीज का काढ़ा पी रहे हैं इस समय। वायु शुद्ध है, पृथ्वी और आकाश दोनों की आकाश गंगाएं साफ हो गई हैं, नदियों में मछलियां दिखने लग गई हैं, आकाश में तारे साफ दिखाई दे रहे हैं। इन उपलब्धियों को सजोना पड़ेगा हमें। महामारी का संकट कष्टपूर्ण अवश्य है, लेकिन उपलब्धियां भावी संसार में शांति और सहयोग का मार्ग प्रशस्त कर सकती हैं, ऐसी मेरी प्रार्थना भी है ईश्वर से। और आपने जैसा कि कहा कि वी लर्न फ्रॉम क्राइसिस, डेफिनेटली वी शुड लर्न फ्रॉम क्राइसिस। ये हमारा कर्तव्य भी है कि जो इस समय आया है इससे अगर ये भी सीख लें जो चीजें मैंने अभी ऊपर बताई, तो बहुत अच्छा हम समाज को दे सकते हैं इस क्राइसिस से सीख कर। तो थैंक यू मैम, अगेन थैंक यू वेरी मच।
शिवानी मैम, गिरीश जी रोक रहा हूँ बीच में, माफी चाहता हूँ। शिवानी मैम, बहुत अच्छा उद्बोधन रहा। और मैडम, मैं इस मंच के माध्यम से शेयर करना चाहता हूँ कि जो हम हेल्थ वॉरियर्स की बात कर रहे हैं, मुझे लगता है कि जो एकेडमिक फैकल्टी हैं, हम लोग भी एक मेंटल हेल्थ वॉरियर की भूमिका निभा सकते हैं और निभा रहे हैं। ये जो वेबिनार है, इस प्रकार की जो एक्टिविटी है, ये हमारे अंदर एक पॉजिटिविटी का संचार करती है। और जब ये पॉजिटिविटी और ये जो एक कलेक्टिव थिंकिंग है, कलेक्टिव कॉन्शियसनेस है, पॉजिटिव थिंकिंग की तरफ, सोल्यूशन की तरफ, ये हमारे माइंड में जाती है, तो ये हमारे माइंडसेट से हमारी फैमिली, हमारे नेबरहुड और जिनसे भी हम मिले हैं उसमें जाने अनजाने, चेतन अचेतन रूप से फैलती है। और हमें और चेतन रूप से इसको फैलाने का प्रयास करना चाहिए। तो मेंटल हेल्थ वॉरियर के रूप में सोसाइटी में हमारी भूमिका महत्वपूर्ण है और हमें इस भूमिका को और अच्छे तरीके से निभाने का प्रयास करना चाहिए। वो एक होप, जो हेल्पलेसनेस है कि जो आप, जैसा आपने बताया कि क्या क्या कर सकते हैं, सबसे पहली बात है कि अपनी सेहत पर अगर हम लोग ध्यान दें, अपने परिवार की जो मनोवैज्ञानिक और जो शारीरिक सेहत है उसको बढ़ाएं, और साथ ही अपने आसपास के लोगों को मोटिवेट करें, जिसको भाई एक इसका उपाय ये है बचाव का कि हमारा टॉलरेंस लेवल, इम्यूनिटी लेवल बढ़े। तो इम्यूनिटी लेवल फिजिकली और मेंटली बढ़ाने की भूमिका में हमारा रोल महत्वपूर्ण हो सकता है। धन्यवाद। गिरीश जी, आपको बीच में रोका।
थैंक यू सुनील जी। नहीं, बहुत बढ़िया, आपने बहुत अच्छी बात कही और बड़ा अच्छा, समय पे जो बात कही जाए वो बढ़िया लगती है और आपने बहुत अच्छी बात कही इस समय। अब कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए, चूंकि समय काफी हो रहा है, मैं अगले अपने वक्ता हैं प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर सौरभ गुप्ता फ्रॉम यूएसए। डॉक्टर सौरभ गुप्ता जुड़े हुए हैं, मैंने देखा था, अगर वो जुड़े हुए हैं इस समय मेरी आवाज सुन रहे हो। डॉक्टर सौरभ गुप्ता फ्रॉम यूएसए, प्लीज।
Yes, sir, I'm here.
You are welcome on the dais, please, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much to the organizers for giving me this opportunity and interacting with the all learned expert in their area. And first of all, greetings to everyone, and I hope everyone is safe and healthy. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Clear
thank you. Thank you. So the topic of my presentation is actually, it's not exactly a presentation. I have some observations regarding the issues in the education, or there has been a sudden shift in education from the traditional formal face-to-face to the online e-learning system. Although this has been quite adapted by the corporate organizations, new for few institutions, especially for India, where face-to-face and traditional organization, traditional education system is the traditional face-to-face education system is the part of the life. I introduce myself. I am actually a research scholar in the area of human resource development. So I see the points where how working and for the optimum utilization of the human resources in different aspects, developing their abilities to contribute more towards the organization, towards their towards the institution, towards the nation as a whole. I have few things. Of course, people have shifted and they are shifting. They have shifted. They are doing very well positively. In terms of the shift in terms of the transition from traditional face-to-face delivery system to the online delivery system. But there are a few things that I would like to discuss, because there is a scope for further research and discussion on these points. The one I say, like I have highlighted, I'm taking it from the point of what, why, how, when, who, and for whom. As we understand, now this situation is going to extend for some time, and I hope this ends very soon. But we are entering to a new normal. We are moving towards the online or e-learning education system. This has been quite been a part of it in US and Europe. I actually also had few courses, those were taught online, quite engaging. First, when I had my first experience was a little different. So there had been few different kinds, synchronous and asynchronous, face-to-face, and different all kinds were there. The first of thing is necessary for the teachers and the trainers is to decide the curriculum, what should be taught and how it is to be taught. Deciding and developing the curriculum from the point of the point of the online education system, because every course has, or every program has different learning outcomes. You cannot follow the same strategy what you use for English language or for the class of English language. You cannot follow the same strategy for taking the classes of mathematics. You cannot follow the same strategy for delivering your lecture on geography or psychology. I know here I see on this webinar there are people from different area, from different subjects, and you know better how your subject should be delivered. So my question is, there is still a scope to identify the best e-delivery strategy of your course. You can discuss among your team members, you can suggest your institution so that the pupil would be benefited and be prepared for the future. There is one point that the evaluation system. When you are going, like this has been a challenge. I have been discussing with few of my friends. They are taking online classes in India and US. So for the US it's okay, but they have been few institutions, they have been doing the same, but for my friends in India, it was quite a new thing. So they were discussing how would you evaluate your program? And that has to be, if we discuss about the learning and evaluation, that evaluation should be linked with your learning outcomes. So first you decide your learning outcome, and that links with your pattern. So it could be your objective test, it could be your assignments, it could be your writing ability, it could be your face-to-face. Now, how you are going to do it, that has to be decided. A formal pattern has to be decided. Then there is one is the trainer and the learner. I have seen the pupil. It was, of course, this change was forced. Many of us were not prepared for this pandemic, this crisis. There was a shortage of skills. And also in many countries, and especially if I talk about India, there is a digital divide. There are people, there are trainers, as well as there are learners who still do not have the access to the internet or the technology. Talking about the primary education system, if you are going to adapt the online or e-learning education, how you are going to adapt or implement in the primary education system in the villages, where the people still do not have any access to the internet. I have seen they have in some of them have in Panchayat Bhavan, some of them has with the Gram Pradhan, but not everyone in the school, even the teachers or the students have that access. So how will you adapt to those situations? We are discussing about the higher education system. We are discussing about the higher institution, talking about technology education or engineering and management. But I haven't seen people discussing about those children who were studying in those primary schools. Are they really being taught? Are they receiving those education through online? Are they really accessible through internet? I don't know. I need your opinion and experience on this. There is a scope. So if you are going to implement it, it should be implemented as a whole with a proper policy and plan where everyone has to be included. I don't know how many are included and how many are excluded. Thinking, developing the skills and adaptability of the trainers. There have been like technology, it jumped on Zoom. I knew that there were few people that they might not be aware about Zoom. Then immediately after Zoom, there is a Google Meet, Microsoft Team, Webex, the number of new things, and there are few things that makes different for the people to adapt it. There are few nitty-gritties, technical nitty-gritties, and how you will be using it. So preparing yourself for those technology and preparing your learner for those technology. It was quite amazing for me. I was talking to one of my friend, and you might be having your children, when you talk to your children about their experiences of online education using the mobile phone. The 6-year-old child of my friend using mobile phone for the education. I don't know how was her experience. It was quite different for me, talking her experience about the online education, how much she was really prepared and skilled to use those things when we were stopping them. What is the degree or the level that should be allowed? The age, the grade, the level of the grade, at what level or the grade level or the class level you should adopt that online education system. Or of course, it's a need now, but when we are moving to the future, where it is beneficial and how it should be implemented, because you cannot copy the post-graduation online education system to the class 6 or class 6 to the class 4th or 5th. Now, there is one more special thing. What about the special child who always need a care, who always need a specific trainer? Now those children are with their family. Are their family members eligible to treat those child? This is the point that has to be discussed and researched, and let them get prepared for those things, for the challenges, if we are really going to adapt it for a long time, or it will be becoming a new normal. Because this issue I realized because one of my friend in India, she is running a special care training center for underprivileged differently abled children. So all her children of her institution are within their family members, and their family is coming from underprivileged houses where they do not even have proper education. So how those child are being treated or educated? Who is taking care of them? Or are they family members? So they think now the child is within the family. Parents have more responsibility towards their child now. Looking towards their education, looking how they behave. And of course, they also have their own responsibility. They also have their own jobs because they are working from home. There are things like, I know this, this is a change, and there is a little theory. We discuss this in business management and business organization. This change is forced, and the change is, when there is a change, there is a resistance. And that was true in the beginning. People realized, oh, it is too difficult for me to stay at the home. Why it is so difficult for us to stay at the home? Because we have changed our lifestyle. The consumerism has forced us to visit malls, shops, go outside. That has become the normal lifestyle. Otherwise, I still love to stay at the home. I do not have any problem in staying at the home. People may not have. I'm not saying about myself. Means likewise, my friends with whom I was discussing those issues, they did not realize this problem, but that may be a problem who are more inclined towards visiting to those malls and all those things. So those were the things that has created a resistance. Oh, people were typing on the social media and Facebook and all those things and discussing, oh, I'm missing that McDonald burger. Oh, I'm missing that, moving to Chatwalas and eating that pani puris and all those things. Can't we keep ourselves calm for those situation and help people around us rather than creating that mess and issues? There is a theory developed by very famous theory of change proposed by Professor Kurt Lewin. There are 3 steps. One is unfreeze, second is change, and third is refreeze. So what we would do is in the organization, it is normally a planned change where we unfreeze. Unfreeze means we say and introduce, okay, you should change, or there is a need for the change. Then we change and refreeze the change. Incentives, we provide incentives, reinforce the change. But here the change was forced. So we did not get a time for unfreeze, any planned unfreeze. We had to unfreeze ourselves. So the first is we have to realize. So here comes the theory of acceptance and adaptability. I like that. I was discussing, listening Professor Jen also discussed this, the issue of adaptability. So how quickly we adapt, so quickly we can change ourselves and realize, so there is a need, or these are the changes that I should bring into my behavior, and these are the things that I should, these are the technology that I should learn. And that is important with the theory of acceptance. So only the theory of acceptance doesn't exist in isolation. There is also a theory of realization. So I accept there is a problem, but I do not change myself because I do not realize the need to change myself. I will change only when I realize, and that realization needs an honesty. So if I see in an education system, or if I am a trainer, if I am a learner, I should be realizing honestly that I need to change myself. That will force me, or that will motivate me to use and learn those technology or skills and prepare myself for the future honestly. There is a model defined by Professor Donald Kirkpatrick. We discussed this model in learning evaluation. There are 4 stages that we check. The first is the reaction, second is learning, third is behavior, and fourth is results. So the reaction time is over, then we say the reaction is the first phase towards the change. That is already over now. We have been moving to, it's almost 4 or 5 months. So the reaction is just when the change is introduced and you are asked, the pupil are asked about the immediate reaction about the change. How was it? Are you able to do it? What are the difficulties that you are going to face? And what should we provide you to learn these things? So that phase is already over. We are into the learning phase. The next is the learning phase. This, we all have to do it and make the changes in the behavior. That's our next steps, and that will lead to the results. And that results should be very clearly defined in the beginning of my change. So it's not like the process of going like, I'm changing because there is a need, I'm being forced to change. This will not bring any change in the future. It will work as a simple spring behavior of the pupil. We are talking like, I'm sorry, I mean, pupil may differ, but I see, and I also study I study and examine human behavior. I research on human behavior, those point of views. People have that reflex behavior or spring behavior that comes with the realization, oh, I know there is a problem, oh, I should change it, but I will not change this because it's a reflex. I will go back to my style where I've been living. I will go back to my own original lifestyle rather than bringing it. So like if we take it, like if we conduct this in our organization, if in our organization is full of 1,000 people, out of 1,000, not all thousands are going to change. 500 will change. For 200, it would be a little difficult for the change. For next 200, it is more difficult to change. So this is how the process that will work. And there we need a support from the institution or the structure. So we need a proper policies if we are adopting that online education system or an e-learning system. The government should work together with the learner, with the trainers on the course curriculum, on the evaluation systems, on the challenges that are being faced by the trainers, that is being faced by the learners, and so devise the formula or the plan, the learning pattern that could be followed for the future. So thank you very much for giving me the time and this opportunity of interacting with the experts. I'm open for the questions if you have any. Thank you very much.
सर बहुत अच्छा, बहुत बढ़िया उद्बोधन था सर. किसी को क्वेश्चन पूछना है सर, पूछ सकते हैं. Anybody want to ask any question, any query? Please ask from sir. सर क्वेश्चन तो बहुत सारे हो सकते हैं क्योंकि ये चीज अब नई इंट्रोड्यूस हो रही है. आपने बताई रिएक्शन, बिहेवियर और रिजल्ट्स, और ये प्रोसेस हम लोग चल ही रहे हैं आगे. क्वेश्चन तो इसमें उठते ही रहेंगे तरह तरह के.
It's a process of interaction. I learn from you, and means we learn from you. It's learning togetherness. So that's why I never introduce myself as a teacher. I always introduce myself as a student.
बहुत बढ़िया सर.
And it's a wonderful, like there have been, I'm present since the morning. And it's wonderful, like I like people discussing about those things. I'm learning a lot, especially about the philosophy from Professor Jain and some, in the morning, there was one professor from the Thailand. That was interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Thank
you. चूंकि समय हमें देखते हुए चलना पड़ेगा और मैं कार्यक्रम को तुरंत आगे बढ़ा रहा हूँ. सर का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कहते हुए एक बार फिर से अब मैं कार्यक्रम में आगे प्रोफेसर गोविंद सरन जो त्रिभुवन विश्वविद्यालय नेपाल से हैं उनको बुलाना चाहूंगा. प्रोफेसर गोविंद सरन फ्रॉम त्रिभुवन यूनिवर्सिटी नेपाल. आई वुड लाइक टू वेलकम प्रोफेसर गोविंद सरन फ्रॉम नेपाल. आर यू लिसनिंग मी सर? अनम्यूट करिए सर प्लीज. Professor Govind Saran.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.
A little bit problem with the... Okay. So thank you very much. So I am very fortunate that I can hear many good things with different professors. And since morning, actually, I'm getting much empowered by different opinions and, of course, expertise. So there is a famous verse in Rig Veda. It's a 10th mandala of the Rig Vedas. It is said as Sam Kachadvam Sambadadvam Shambhavanansi Janatam. So actually, this Corona made us to come together again. So world actually locked in home, but somehow the families and relatives are meeting each other. So I have some experience. I want to share some experience through my slideshow. So if you allow me.
Sure, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yes, yes. I'm preparing to share it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm trying to share it. Okay. So experiencing COVID-19 as a philosophy professional. So this is my simple observation. I just want to share my experience after the COVID as a part of the society, as a philosophy professional. So it's very simple things. I'm not going to describe much more things, but just I want to share my experience. So let's start from here. So first case in Nepal, first case was confirmed 23rd January in 32 years old man who had returned from the China. So it is already from the China. First case has been investigated in Nepal through the China. And quarantine started 21st March. And then testing, first testing has started 22nd 9th of March. So this is
प्रोफेसर गोविंद सरन सर, आवाज नहीं आ रही है सर. You are not audible, sir.
दिख भी जाओगे तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं होगी.
I think there is a problem of connection. I think.
इंटरनेट प्रॉब्लम है, कुछ इंटरनेट कनेक्टिविटी कुछ अलग वो है.
ऐसे ही लग रहा है क्योंकि हट गए हैं, दोबारा जुड़ेंगे.
1 मिनट वेट कर लेते हैं.
वेट करिए जरा, और उसमें देखिए नीचे अगर आ रहे हो तो उन्हें तुरंत अंदर करिए. हाँ, आ गए.
I'm sorry, our internet system is not supporting. Actually, sir, can you open the share screen?
Sir, please.
From your side, it is disabled from your side.
Yes, sir. Screen sharing is not.
It
is not appearing here, but I would like to suggest you, if there is any data problem, please stop video calling. We will listen to you, sir.
Okay, then I'm going to the without.
Yes, sir. Without video, please, sir. Carry on without video, sir. That will be.
सर
टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम है सर के यहाँ, कनेक्ट नहीं हो पा रहे हैं.
So actually नहीं, I've already come back. So first when the corona has been investigated in Nepal, so what the response was, not only general people but myself, I took it as a very normal.
थोड़ी देर बाद प्रयास कर लीजिएगा, एक बार आगे बढ़ जाइए गिरीश जी।
हाँ सर, आगे करें।
हाँ आगे बढ़ जाइए, सर को जुड़ जाए तो फिर कर लीजिएगा आगे।
आप कॉल करके बता दीजिए सर को, हम आगे उसमें कर लेंगे, है ना।
हाँ हाँ
और हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं ना। ठीक है, टाइम कॉन्स्टेंट है क्योंकि हमें आगे बढ़ना है समय के साथ।
हाँ हाँ मतुल आलम सर हैं
जी सर, प्रोफेसर मतुल आलम वर्ल्ड एजुकेशन कनाडा से अगर जुड़े हुए हैं सर, प्लीज यू आर मोस्ट वेलकम टू कम एट द डैश। प्रोफेसर मतुल आलम सर,
स्पीकर।
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak about the consequences of this Third World War, this great pandemic that is affecting everybody's lives from any country, any corner to other corner of the world, north to south, east to west, everywhere. I am very pleased to speak about the role of education in making a big difference in the lives of humankind after this pandemic, and of course during this pandemic as well. I have been involved in teaching and learning for last 30 years in Canada, USA, UK, and some other countries. I haven't seen education very helpful to solve world problems. What kind of human knowledge we could have to face this pandemic adequately with less misunderstanding, less problems. I think world's one of the most powerful nations, USA, is now stuck with a serious problem. Industries, economic activities, social activities, all are impacted, and nobody knows where it will end up. Why nobody knows? Why people cannot predict? There were a lot of talks about this pandemic coming for decades. All great peoples, including President of USA, mentioned about this possibility of pandemic. But why they were not prepared? The world is prepared to create more conflicts, to get more people killed in the name of the religious hegemony, power, and cultural leadership, and of course, neo-colonialism. But I think this pandemic has a huge possibilities for us. One is, like after the Second World War, India became independent. Bangladesh, Pakistan, that region, and many other countries around the world got independence. If there was no Second World War, there could be less opportunity for these country people to become independent. And now, after this pandemic, after this Third World War, I hope there will be a better opportunity for humankind to coexist, not only as humans, but also with the nature, with animals, and every creation by the God. What we need now, we need to focus on what kind of knowledge is most worth in solving problems. Personal problems, local problems, social problems, and global problems. Are we heading to that direction? No. We are still searching for some alternatives that are not helpful at all. For example, today, health-wise, we all are talking about preparing citizens to maintain social distancing. This is a new word for all of us. To do some sort of cleaning, hand wash, mouthwash, all kind of precautions covering body so that we do not get contaminated. But this kind of knowledge should come from the school system. Young kids can tell their parents and relatives, senior relatives, that this is what needs to be done. So, but is it this kind of knowledge available in school curriculum in a systematic way? No. So we have a great deal of curriculum reform at school. Today, you can see that there was a violence in Delhi, a lot of violences in different parts of India. Recently, we have a slogan, Black Lives Matter. So this is about Black lives matter, or any lives, including animal lives, matter. After such a long time, when governments are investing billions and trillions of dollars in manufacturing war weapons, and still we are talking about Black Lives Matter, and people are being killed only because of their race, because of their economic and social abilities, because of their disabilities, they are discriminated. Still, men and women in the world are not equally paid, even though there are few women leaderships around the world. So this kind of gap could be reduced if in the school curriculum there was a cultural literacy component. If you look at how a president of a world leader, leading country like Donald Trump talks, I strongly feel that he doesn't have cultural literacy. Where we could teach him this cultural literacy in school when he was forming his attitude, his knowledge about the world, how to deal with other people. So we must think about cultural literacy in the curriculum. The same way we have to think about other foundational knowledge that can be implanted in the very early childhood of someone growing as a citizen of the world. So these are the things we need to look into at the very basic level. And higher level, now at least 13% of the citizens are losing their job in the world. And we had a huge problem of employing young generations in many countries to give them job, right job, not only job, like the job somebody graduated in history and working in the bank. Not this kind of job. So the higher education system was crippled before. Already they were not producing the right form of knowledge and skills to prepare the citizen of the world. So now this is a challenge, and job creation should not be the way of dealing with education. We should not prepare our students to become employee, but to be employer, so that they can be creative and innovative in a way that they can employ other people. Another aspect of self-employment is possibly multitasking activities using Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. Our society is designed to prepare people for particular type of knowledge that is required by corporations. And now I think we have to think about somebody can do something better should be that person's interest, and university should be flexible enough to accommodate their needs and develop them the way they can make an impact in this world. Most important aspect of human development is working on moral education. Until now, we have been learning about moral education aspect from our ancestors, from our seniors. We all know our parents have had a big impact in our moral dimension of life. So a spiritual dimension of education is a very critical component for any graduating students. But the problem we have is the new neo-colonial education system doesn't allow those kind of things. They think religion is destructive, it is creating violence, all kind of attributes in relation to the religion. But I think religion could be extremely helpful in understanding a person's cultural values and norms. And of course, so I think we have to look into some of the turning points. For example, in 1963, Martin Luther King's lecture, I Have a Dream, is a very famous one historically. But look at the dream has not been fulfilled yet, even though a black man became president of USA. But the blacks are totally discarded by the racist communities. The same way everyone is paying and not fulfilling their dreams of lives. In 1990, Nelson Mandela became free from jail. But today you can see most of the country in the world are suffering due to non-democratic hegemonic power that people do not want. Like majority elects somebody and those people discriminate minorities in the country. If you think about women voting in 1928, started in England first. But now, do you think in the household level in India, Bangladesh, or any country, or even Western country, women has the right to make the family decisions equally like men? No. So we are far behind. So curriculum reform is at every level very essential. And why this curriculum reform is needed? We need to address the environmental aspect. We need to address the employment aspect. We need to actually look into teacher training aspect. If you look at the teachers are trained in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, millions are teaching without any training. And in North America, for example, or England, teachers are trained in a wrong way by the wrong people. Those who do not love children, those who do not want family, want to be independent, they are the trainer of teachers in North America in most cases. They are occupying the faculty of education in North America. So these are critical issues that we are faced with. So what kind of strategic plan we should have to make the changes? Only incorporation of digital media in education system will not help us in every possible way. I have been teaching online at University of British Columbia for last 20 years. And we teach some major courses which are well known around the world. But we know that most of our faculty members, university professors, are not able to evaluate the outcome of the learning properly. And now, because of this pandemic, most of the university, even schools in India, Bangladesh, and Canada, sending, especially the private schools, sending homework to parents for school children. But how the evaluation is done? So these are the critical issues needs to be addressed. My previous speakers already mentioned about some of these, and they have a very deep understanding about these problems. And now we have to think about education reform, actually the government reform. We know economically every country will be devastated, but education must have new budget to prepare the world to meet the challenges of this 21st century after this pandemic, in a way that the world is more civilized, world is more respectful to diversity. We have 70 million disabled students around the world, people, those who need education, and every one of us, including me, needs lifelong education. So education system must reform to accommodate these kind of lifelong education provision that will help us to cope with the innovation and changes in a flexible way. And actually, I don't think I have enough time to speak on some of these plans, but related to distance education, the opportunity is, of course, with artificial intelligence. India has a very strong footing in this area. They can replace some of the bad teachers with a standard artificial intelligence based educational provision, but of course supervised by good teachers. Cloud computing and 3D printing system can actually make the world totally different. And you can even build houses with 3D printers using your small computer. Social media must be incorporated in education in a proper way and lifelong learning. And of course, my previous speaker talked about the research. We have to reform research to catch on those kind of educational challenges so that we can solve global problems and education as a whole can lead the world. And restructure and rebuild a nation after this third world war of COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. बहुत ही अच्छा उद्बोधन था सर का. Very nice thought and on the education system. और बहुत सारे चेंजेस सर आ रहे हैं और बहुत सारे आएंगे भी, दिखाई दे रहे हैं. और हर क्षेत्र में, जैसे कि हम सुबह से डिस्कस कर रहे हैं और ये चीज निकल के आ रही है, हर क्षेत्र में बहुत सारे चेंजेस दिखाई देंगे हमें आने वाले समय में. और इवन आई एम ए स्टूडेंट ऑफ हिस्ट्री एंड आई एम सीइंग, आई सी एक ऐतिहासिक परिप्रेक्ष्य में जैसे संकट ने एक दृष्टि ऐसी दी है कि 5000 वर्ष पुरानी जो हड़प्पा सभ्यता है उसके बहुत सारे कारणों पे हम लोग डिस्कस करते आए हैं अब तक. और एक कारण दिया जाता था, हम सबसे लास्ट में पढ़ते थे, कि महामारी की वजह से मृत्यु हुई होगी और इस वजह से अचानक उसका पतन हो गया सभ्यता का. तो उस समय बहुत ज्यादा इसको हमने वैल्यू कभी दी नहीं कि महामारी से इतना कुछ हो सकता है क्या. लेकिन आज इस पैंडेमिक को देख के, क्योंकि ये जीवन में एक बार और पहली बार शायद देखने को मिली है, ऐसा कभी हुआ नहीं, तो महसूस हो रहा है कि हड़प्पा सभ्यता के समय में हो सकता है ऐसा कुछ हुआ हो और दोबारा से वहां के लोगों को नगरीय सभ्यता छोड़ के और कहीं दूर जाके ग्रामीण संस्कृति को अपनाना पड़ा हो. हालांकि इस पे बहुत रिसर्च होना बाकी है. मैं एक बात कह रहा हूँ, इसमें तर्क आने बहुत बाकी हैं, बहुत सारी चीजें और भी हैं इसमें, मगर इस एक सिद्धांत को भी बल मिला है. तो बहुत सारे चेंजेस हर क्षेत्र में आ रहे हैं. एजुकेशन के जो टूल्स हैं उनको अलग अलग तरीके के हमें इस्तेमाल करने पड़ेंगे. अब तक हम कहते थे चौक के बगैर पढ़ाई नहीं होगी, लेकिन अब बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी विदाउट चौक वी हैव टू टीच. हमें सीखना पड़ रहा है कैसे ऑनलाइन टीचिंग कराएं, कौन कौन से एप्स हैं. फर्स्ट टाइम वी सॉ many apps like Zoom, Google Meet, different apps. तो ये सब चीजें जो हमें देखने को मिल रही हैं जो अब पैंडेमिक के कारण है, बहुत सारे पॉजिटिव भी हैं. अगर हम काउंट करेंगे तो पॉजिटिव भी बहुत सारे इफेक्ट ऐसे आए हैं और इसके बहुत सारे फायदे भी हैं. सुबह एक पेपर भी पढ़ा गया था, एक स्टूडेंट था उसने पढ़ा था और बहुत अच्छा पेपर था. उसने बताया था कि इसके फायदे क्या क्या हैं. सस्ती एजुकेशन कर सकते हैं, जैसे आज यहाँ बैठा हुआ एक व्यक्ति हार्वर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी से कोई कोर्स कर सकता है बहुत आसानी से. हालांकि वो चीज नहीं आएगी, बहुत सारी चीजें लैक करती हैं, वो उसके नेगेटिव पॉइंट्स भी हैं, बट ही कैन टेक एजुकेशन फ्रॉम हार्वर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी इवन बीइंग इन इंडिया और इन एनी अदर कंट्री ऑफ द ग्लोब. तो ये चीज एक चेंज हुई है सर, और मुझे लग रहा है कि आपने सर बहुत अच्छी एक इंसाइट दी, हम लोगों को देखने का एक नजरिया और दिया और सोचने के लिए कुछ चीजें और दी. और थर्ड वर्ल्ड वॉर है सर, ये निश्चित रूप से आपने बहुत अच्छी बात कही, ये बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है. थर्ड वर्ल्ड वॉर ऐसा ही होगा और अभी लग रहा है कि इसके बाद हो ना जाए थर्ड वर्ल्ड वॉर, तो और स्थिति क्या खराब होगी वर्ल्ड की कह नहीं सकते. थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू बीइंग विद अस. एंड हम लोग अपने कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं जल्दी से, समय का अभाव है हमारे पास. एक दो पेपर भी हो सकते हैं, प्रेजेंटर बैठे हुए हों और इंतजार कर रहे हैं. अब मैं बुलाना चाहूंगा इंडिया से ही, मध्य प्रदेश से डॉक्टर कौशलेन शर्मा जी को. वो अगर मेरी आवाज सुन रहे हैं तो प्लीज कौशलेन शर्मा जी आइए और अपना उद्बोधन दीजिए.
जी सर, नमस्कार सर. डाटा की प्रॉब्लम है इसलिए वीडियो मेरा ऑफ हुआ है.
कोई बात नहीं सर, आप बोलिए सर, सुन रहे हैं हम लोग.
सर प्रथम मैं अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सेमिनार में केजी के पीजी कॉलेज के प्राचार्य प्रोफेसर एस टी द्विवेदी सर और साथ में लगी हुई टीम डॉक्टर नीलेश कुमार सिंह, डॉक्टर गिरीश कुमार सिंह, डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह को आपको प्रणाम. इसके साथ साथ इस थर्ड जो सेशन आज का चल रहा है, इस सेशन के चेयरमैन प्रोफेसर शिवानी शर्मा मैडम, जो आप चंडीगढ़ यूनिवर्सिटी से हैं. की नोट स्पीकर के रूप में प्रोफेसर पंकज जैन टेक्सास से, आप यूएस से हैं. चीफ गेस्ट डॉक्टर सौरभ गुप्ता यूएस से हैं. प्रोफेसर गोविंद शर्मा धन यूनिवर्सिटी नेपाल से आप हैं. प्रोफेसर आलम सर वर्ल्ड एजुकेशन कनाडा से हैं. चेयरमैन की नोट स्पीकर गेस्ट के रूप में आपने अपनी बात रखा है और मैं थोड़ा उसको आगे बढ़ाना चाहता हूँ. जो विशेष तौर से मेरा टॉपिक है इम्पैक्ट ऑफ प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो ऑन द लाइफ एंड वर्ल्ड. जीवन एवं दुनिया भर पर वर्तमान परिदृश्य पर क्या प्रभाव पड़ा है. सर्वप्रथम मैं अपनी बात यहाँ से स्टार्ट करना चाह रहा हूँ कि 21वीं शताब्दी में अभी तक सबसे बड़ी समस्या या काल के रूप में हमारे सामने कोरोना वायरस ने पूर्ण विश्व को खतरे में डाल दिया है. दुनिया के विकासशील देशों के साथ साथ विकसित देश भी इस वायरस की चपेट में आ गए हैं। विशेष तौर से यूएस के रूप में आप देखते हैं, इतना शक्तिशाली देश होने के बावजूद भी आज कोरोना से बहुत ही कम है। इस वायरस ने न केवल देश के लोगों के स्वास्थ्य पर प्रभाव किया है, बल्कि इसने किसी देश की रीढ़ समझे जाने वाली अर्थव्यवस्था, शिक्षा, रक्षा और स्वास्थ्य विभागों तक बुरी तरह से प्रभाव डाला है। उसके साथ साथ सर्वप्रथम शिक्षा के तौर पर यह शिक्षा व्यवस्था और पठन पाठन पर स्कूली से लेकर उच्च शिक्षा लगभग ठप पड़ गए हैं। हालांकि कुछ स्कूल कॉलेजों या विश्वविद्यालयों में जो वर्तमान में टेस्ट चल रहे हैं, जूम है, गूगल क्लासरूम संचालित कर रहे हैं, लेकिन क्या ये बच्चों को क्या वो शैक्षणिक व्यवस्था का प्रभाव पड़ रहा है? ये एक महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा है जो संकट के समय में एकमात्र है, लेकिन संकट के समय में एकमात्र मुद्दा ये भी है कि ऑनलाइन हम कैसे कर सकते हैं। इस पर एक महत्वपूर्ण बिंदु छुपा हुआ है। क्या सचमुच ऑनलाइन शिक्षा देश की सारी शैक्षिक जरूरतों का हल है? क्या ऑनलाइन शिक्षा कच्छ की शिक्षा का समुचित विकल्प है? क्या भारतीय प्रदेश के लिए ये ऑनलाइन शिक्षा जो हमारे बच्चों को प्राथमिक विद्यालयों से लेकर डिग्री यूनिवर्सिटी स्तर के बच्चों को शिक्षा दे रहे हैं, क्या उनके शैक्षणिक परिवेश पर, शैक्षणिक वातावरण पर अच्छा प्रभाव जा रहा है? क्या इन प्रश्नों का उत्तर जानने के साथ साथ ये जानना भी हम सबको जरूरी है कि शिक्षा के उद्देश्य के तहत हम क्या कार्य कर सकते हैं? उस पे विशेष तौर से बात आती है शिक्षा के जो मुख्य उद्देश्य हैं, व्यक्ति एवं चरित्र का निर्माण, समाज कल्याण एवं ज्ञान उत्तरोत्तर का विकास। ऑनलाइन शिक्षा इन लक्ष्यों की पूर्ति कहाँ तक करती है, इसके लिए पर जरूरी है, इस पर चिंतन करने की आवश्यकताएं हैं। परंपरागत यानी आमने सामने कक्ष के पठन पाठन विद्यार्थी अपनी बात को आसानी से रख सकते थे, आसानी से अपने क्वेश्चन को पूछ सकते थे और संबंधित अध्यापक फैकल्टीगण अपनी बातों को सहिष्णुता पूर्वक छात्रों के सामने अपनी बात को रख सकते थे। तो इस तरह से हम देखें शिक्षा का आचरण और उसके पर छात्रों पर क्या प्रभाव पड़ा है। क्या इसके साथ साथ शिक्षक का जो आचरण होता है वो क्लास के रूम में बच्चों के सामने अच्छा प्रभाव पड़ता है। शैक्षिक परिसर में विविधतापूर्ण सामाजिक आर्थिक पृष्ठभूमि और विभिन्न विषयों के छात्रों का आपस में अंतर व्यवहार, बहस, डिस्कशन, वितर्क, व्यक्तित्व का निर्माण एक क्लास में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाते हैं। ऑनलाइन शिक्षा ये विशेष तौर से सद्गुण के विकास के लिए उचित नहीं प्रतीत होती है। उसके साथ साथ एक सीमा तक इसका ज्ञान आवश्यक है। ज्ञान के विकास के लिए ऑनलाइन शिक्षा एक सीमा तक संभव है, सीमा के आगे हम इससे नहीं बढ़ सकते हैं, क्योंकि ज्ञान के माध्यम से हर बच्चे अपनी बात को पूर्ण रूप से नहीं रख सकते। का तीसरा उद्देश्य इसके साथ साथ अन्य उद्देश्य भी होते हैं। शिक्षा के साथ साथ अन्य उद्देश्य में ये भी है कि क्लासरूम के द्वारा जो भी उसका समाधान क्लासरूम में हम कर सकते हैं। समस्या ये भी हमारे ग्रामीण प्रदेश में अगर हैं तो उनके पास नेट की समस्याएं रहती हैं और उसके साथ मोबाइल की समस्याएं रहती हैं। इन सब इससे भी बच्चे कुछ अछूते रह जा रहे हैं ऑनलाइन की समस्या से। विशेष तौर से आज के समय में ये भी देखें हम, आमतौर पर जब कोई प्राकृतिक संकट आता है तो कुछ देशों, कुछ राज्यों तक ही सीमित रहता है, लेकिन इस बार का संकट ऐसा है जिसने विश्व भर की पूरी मानव जगत को संकट में डाल दिया है। इसलिए देश के प्रत्येक नागरिक को चाहिए और इस कोरोना से संबंधित खतरे से बचना चाहिए। दरअसल अभी तक विज्ञान कोरोना महामारी से बचने के लिए कोई निश्चित उपाय नहीं सुलझा पाया है और न कोई अच्छी से वैक्सीन आ पाई है। ऐसी स्थिति में भारत में कोरोना के खतरे को देखते हुए चिंता की भारत जैसे 1.25 अरब से अधिक आबादी वाले संकट से गुजर रहे हैं। कोरोना के इस खतरे को देखते हुए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने राष्ट्र के नाम देशवासियों के बाल बचाव के लिए संयम का संकल्प लेने के लिए आह्वान किया कि आप अपने आवश्यकता से अधिक किसी वस्तु का संचय न करें और संचय करने से आपके अंदर आएगी, उसके तहत हम सब अपनी समस्याओं से आगे नहीं उबर पाएंगे। इसलिए जो आज का सिनेरियो है हम सबको इससे बचत करने की आवश्यकता है, बाल बचाव करने की आवश्यकता है और शिक्षा जगत है, शिक्षा है, उससे हर तरह का विकास बच्चे का नहीं हो सकता है, इसलिए उसके साथ-साथ और भी उसकी ध्यान की आवश्यकताएँ पड़ती हैं। थैंक यू सर, आपको, आप सभी टीम को, मुरादाबाद की टीम को प्रणाम, नमस्कार।
सर बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद आपका इतने अच्छे उद्बोधन के लिए। और अब हमारा कार्यक्रम समाप्ति की ओर है। हमारे यहाँ पार्टिसिपेंट इस समय नहीं है क्योंकि सेशन लेट है हमारे यहाँ 9 बजे, बहुत से लोग नहीं जुड़े और बहुत से लोग जुड़े थे वो अब नहीं है इस समय, तो उनका हम कल देखेंगे। और आज शायद कोई पार्टिसिपेंट नहीं है, अगर कोई है तो मुझे बताइए अगर कोई पार्टिसिपेंट जुड़ा हुआ है, कोई पेपर प्रेजेंटर जुड़ा हुआ है अगर।
I have one question, sir.
सर प्लीज आस्क।
अगर कोई प्रेजेंटेशन नहीं है तो actually it's a wonderful opportunity interacting with you all. First time after a long time I'm discussing everyone. I have one question actually in specifically for Indian system to our chairperson, session chairperson Professor Sharma is here and all. Since we were discussing about online education and I have been in India, I studied everything. वहाँ पे हमने देखा कि हमारे इंडिया में अभी भी जॉब के लिए when you apply, you have been asked full-time face-to-face education, part-time, distance education. Means specifically mention होता है बहुत सारी jobs में even you are not shortlisted if you get your degree distance education or part-time education. So my question, I need your opinion just to develop my understanding. आप लोगों का क्या opinion है इस बारे में, how government would change or should change to create that acceptability towards online education system, degrees, online degrees, क्योंकि अभी तक तो पार्ट टाइम डिस्टेंस ही होता रहा था, अब तो ऑनलाइन और आ गया।
सर हमारे यहाँ तो सर जो एक सिस्टम है, जो हमारे यहाँ ट्रेडिशनल एजुकेशन का सिस्टम है, उसमें भी अभी ग्रेडिंग का सिस्टम जारी है, अभी वही नहीं हो पाया है। नैक वगैरह बनाए जा रहे हैं, अब वो हो जाएगा। उसके बाद ये जो ऑनलाइन एकदम से चैलेंज की तरह तुरंत ही आ गया है, तो ये बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी हैं एकदम ऑल ऑफ सडन है और इन सब पे विचार बनेगा आने वाले दिनों में। जो ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन है, बहुत सारे अच्छे इंस्टीट्यूट्स भी हैं जो दे रहे हैं, तो उनकी ग्रेडिंग अगर अच्छी होगी तो मुझे लगता है कि उनको स्वीकार करने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, उनको तो किया ही जा सकता है। और उसके अलावा और बहुत सारे लोग बैठे हुए हैं, सर बताएंगे।
हाँ, मेरा क्वेश्चन वही एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी का। एक्चुअली EDX आ गया, कोर्सेरा आ गया, बहुत सारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम में मैंने देखे।
कोर्सेरा बहुत अच्छे हैं, मैंने EDX पे भी बहुत अच्छा कोर्स किया था हार्वर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी से, दैट वाज फैंटास्टिक। मैंने रिलीजन के ऊपर किया था और अभी उसके कई और पार्ट बाकी हैं, क्योंकि समय था मैंने कर लिया सर, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा और पैटर्न बहुत अच्छा था उसका। तो ऐसे कोर्सेज अगर कोई करके आ रहा है तो
एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी तो बहुत सारी चीजों की नहीं थी।
जी सर, जी सर।
एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी तो अब तक, जहां तक सवाल है, इंडिया में ऑनलाइन सिस्टम की कोई भी एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी नहीं थी। डिजिटल पेमेंट, डिजिटल ऑर्डर्स, ऑनलाइन ऑर्डर्स, धीरे धीरे वो कितना डेवलप हो गए हैं। और अब इस क्राइसिस के बाद there is every likelihood that these things will become very much acceptable.
Yeah, that's a need of the hour.
चेंजेस आ रहे हैं सर, बिल्कुल सर।
अब हम लोग, जैसा हमने डिस्कशन में कहा कि हर क्राइसिस में अपॉर्चुनिटी होती है, तो बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज ओपन तक बिल्कुल उन सब चीजों से बचते थे, डिजिटल सिस्टम से बिल्कुल अनभिज्ञ थे। दे वर नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड टू एक्सेप्ट इट, still prepared to go to the counters and make payments. They are still adopting now all those things, and it will become the order of the day, as I feel.
And it's good to see that now we are really moving towards digital India.
We have already moved a lot.
Yeah, I see.
बहुत सारे चेंजेस आ चुके हैं सर, सही कह रहे हैं बिल्कुल।
Yes sir, yes sir.
Crisis emerged.
I see now people prefer paying through Paytm and all those things. That's
yes,
good thing.
Yes, yes.
And it also, there is one more important thing. When you do all these digital transaction, this makes the transparency, financial transparency. That's very important thing.
And I'll tell you, Dr. Sir, even before this crisis emerged, people had been switching over to digitalization and online bookings and online
things.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
there are a number of institutes and public service commissions where online exams are being held, and people are adopting to all those things.
Yeah,
In
okay.
schools and colleges, in urban areas, online admissions are being done, online forms are being filled.
Online
So
evaluation work is also going on.
Yes.
That was there. That application and all those things were there. Online examination was there. But my question was related to that formal degree system, the regular bachelor, masters, the formal education
Doctor,
system.
we are evolving. It will take
Yes,
a
sir.
lot
Yes,
of
sir.
time, as
Yes,
you
sir.
said several times, but
Yes.
it will be adopted ultimately because it will become a compulsion then.
Yes,
When
sir.
it is a compulsion, you have no other option.
Exactly.
And this crisis has closed so many doors, and it is going to open so many new doors now.
That's good to see, sir.
यस सर, मैं समझता हूँ कि देखिए हमारे यहाँ मॉरिशस में कॉन्फाइनमेंट पीरियड के अंतर्गत यहाँ पर भी ऑनलाइन असेसमेंट ही हुए। सभी लोगों ने ऑनलाइन मोड ही पर असेसमेंट किए, कंटिन्यूअस असेसमेंट सभी बच्चों ने सब भेजे और ऑनलाइन मोड ही पर हम सब करेक्शन मार्किंग कर रहे हैं। लेकिन मुझे त्रुटि कहाँ दिखी, मान लीजिए एक असेसमेंट हम दे रहे हैं, जैसे आप डिग्री के बारे में बोल रहे हैं ना, अब एक बच्चे असेसमेंट करके भेज दिया, तो क्या पता कि उसी ने वो असेसमेंट करके भेजा है या और
academic honesty is
academic honesty। अब मान लीजिए फेस टू फेस वो बच्चा आ रहा है कक्षा में भाग लेकर रिटन एग्जाम दे रहा है, तो वो अलग होता है। तो मैं यही समझ रहा हूँ डिग्री जैसे आप बोल रहे हैं, डिग्री में ये जो रिटन एग्जाम है it has a validity, reliability। ऑनलाइन में थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट है।
I've seen there is one of my friend in India. They are conducting his institution. I would not name the institution, but his institution is conducting face-to-face examination.
Face-to-face exam. That's very good.
All the students are on that Zoom, sitting on their table with the camera switched on. And my friend is working as an invigilator. मैंने कहा यार, how you are doing this? Like watching all like
it's time consuming. बहुत समय लगता है.
Yeah, it's like you are like watching that CCTV monitors.
Exactly. अभी जैसे गिरीश कुमार जी ने कहा कि धीरे-धीरे वो लागू होगा और आएगा.
सौरभ गुप्ता सर प्लीज।
अतुल आलम सर आप म्यूट है, पहले म्यूट हट जा।
सौरभ गुप्ता
आलम सर कुछ करना चाह रहे थे।
Yes sir.
I wanted to just
excuse me sir, I want to share some views
that now, because every university professors are doing distance teaching in some ways, so there will be less criticism of distance learning and online teaching, and more acceptance in the near future. And of course, we found that distance teaching could be more potentially helpful for students if it is properly done with right plan and strategy, and outcomes are accomplished. I think teacher training and faculty development can be based on distance learning at this present time. That way, acceptance of graduates, those who are doing bachelor's, master's online, will be more valued. Thank you.
थैंक यू सर। गोविंद सरन जी कुछ कहना चाहेंगे? गोविंद सरन जी का बीच में रह गया था।
हाँ, अभी समय भी है और जुड़ जाए, अच्छा है।
हाँ, गोविंद सरन सर म्यूट है, आप म्यूट से हटिए।
अनम्यूट कीजिए सर।
अनम्यूट करिए सर।
जी मैं आ गया। मैं आ गया। सबको नमस्कार करता हूँ। अनफॉर्चुनेटली ये जो प्रॉपर्टी है इंटरनेट की, ये नेपाल सरकार की है, तो ये कभी कभी हमें धोखा दे जाती है। तो क्षमा करें।
Sir, can I say something, sir?
Kamal, yeah.
प्रणाम करता हूं और मैं आज जो विषय में उत्थान करना चाहता था कुछ मैं क्योंकि बहुत सारे डिस्कस हो चुके हैं मुझे बहुत जी जी तो आपसे बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला आदि भौतिक आदि दैविक और आध्यात्मिकता और उसी में एक श्लोक मिला मुझे नश्यन्ति व्यादय सर्वे लूता विस्फोटकादय स्थागरम जंगमम चैव ईशम अर्थात जिस प्रकार की भी हमें दुख मिले जिस प्रकार की हमें कठिनाई हो चाहे वो फिजिकल प्रॉब्लम हो चाहे मेंटल प्रॉब्लम हो चाहे स्पिरिचुअल प्रॉब्लम हो when we do surrender to any इष्टदेव then हमें उससे आराम मिलता है। ये मुझे पढ़ने के बाद में मुझे लगा कि नेपाल में इसमें हम लोग कैसा प्रैक्टिस करते हैं नेपाल में हम लोग कैसा प्रैक्टिस करते हैं तो मैं जब बच्चा था मैं बच्चा था तो मेरे पिताजी पंडित हैं तो पंडित जब हमारे गांव में कुछ प्रॉब्लम होती चंडी का पाठ करते थे उसमें सब तो इसका इस पेंडेमिक के साथ मैंने रिलेटेड करने का प्रयत्न किया थोड़ा बहुत आई एम ट्राइंग टू हिंदी तो कवच का अर्थ है बांधना तो व्हेन यू आर एक्सेसिवली fearful then you try to protection from somewhere so kavach gives you the strength so it's a type of the mental and physical combination of the treatment and then argala is the gal कहते gala is something संस्कृत में गला गर शब्द का अर्थ है लकड़ी जिसको सहारा देने को बोलते हैं then they put another एक्स्ट्रा टाइप का एक इनपुट देते हैं उसको अर्गला बोलते हैं तो उसमें कवच में प्रत्येक अंगों को बांधा जाता है उसके बाद में अर्गला से उसको फिर संभाला जाता है देन किलकम देन दे कम इनटू द किलक किलक का अर्थ है उसको बिल्कुल स्तंभित कर देना फिर हिलने डुलने को न देना तो मैंने देखा कि पिताजी जब करते थे तो मैंने देखा कि many people really got benefited and they are very happy so अभी हम जब नेपाल में हम प्रैक्टिस देखते हैं तो क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ जब कोई प्रॉब्लम होता है तो सबसे पहले हम वेद मंत्रों का स्मरण करना मंदिरों के अपने इष्ट देव को समझना और कभी कभी ऐसा भी देखा जाता है कि लोग अपने से बड़े से आशीर्वाद लेते हैं कि इस रोग से हमें जल्दी से छुट्टी मिले तो अभी जब हम फैमिली में रहते हैं तो लोग हमें विश करते हैं कि चलो आपको जो है रोग न लगे तो इससे एक प्रकार का मुझे महसूस होता है कि हम लोगों ने यह महसूस किया है कि इससे हमें आंतरिक आत्मा अभी जब हम डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं कोविड-19 की तो उसमें सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत जो है वो सेल्फ स्टीम की है वो सेल्फ स्टीम जो है वो ट्रेडिशनल जो हीलिंग सिस्टम है उस सिस्टम में कवच और अर्गला और किलक जो है ये सेल्फ हीलिंग के लिए एक नया प्रोसेस देता है और सेल्फ स्टीम को इनहेंस करता है और हमको सबको पता है कि ह्यूमन जो है विज्ञान से बहुत कम वी ह्यूमन हम लोग विज्ञान से बहुत कम और सेल्फ स्टीम से बहुत ज्यादा जीते हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि जो प्राचीन वैदिक पद्धति जो अर्गला कवच अर्गला और किलक का जो सिस्टम ने और मेंटल और स्पिरिचुअल ताप से बचने के लिए सेल्फ स्टीम टू रिस्पॉन्ड और प्रोटेक्ट इसको डायरेक्ट मैं ये नहीं कहूंगा कि प्रोटेक्शन होता है बट इट गिव्स यू अस टू सेल्फ मोटिवेशन टू फाइट अगेंस्ट एनी काइंड ऑफ द फिजिकल मेंटल and the spiritual immunity. So in this regard, there are two systems. One is Ayurvedic system, another is yoga system, and then is the puja patam also. Then finally, stubadavyo bhakti purvatvam dandike vyadinasini. When we put surrender to our Ishtadev, then we get benefit. हम लोगों को उससे ज्यादा बेनिफिट होता है. तो मैंने ये ट्रेडिशनल जो हमारा हीलिंग सिस्टम है उसका भी बहुत ज्यादा अभी रोल मुझे दिखता है. सो मैं नेपाल में जब देखता हूँ लोगों को, तो of course people are very fearful and they are full of the anxiety. They are also in dilemma. They are also in suspicious each other due to the pandemic transition of this pandemic. But they are also very faithful on their Ishtadev or their traditional practice. So I think that what we have traditionally treasurer is this traditional things what we have should be practiced to the outcome mentally and mentally outcome to the distress. So it will helpful to distress and minimize our anxiety and also fear. So ये तो मैंने इसको इस तरह से लिया. So यदि हम पूर्वीय दर्शन को अध्ययन करने पे हमें मिलता है कि पूर्वीय दर्शन जो है इस gives us the hope for the. So जब हम अपने को इमोर्टल समझते हैं तो मृत्यु का डर निश्चित कम होता है. दूसरी बात है, चलो हम मर भी गए तो वी आर वेरी होपफुल दैट मरने के बाद में भी ठीक है, दूसरी अपॉर्चुनिटी है, हम बेटर लाइफ के लिए आ सकते हैं. तो तीसरा हमने देखा है कि वी आर डूइंग गुड कर्मा एंड वी आर हेल्पिंग ईच अदर. ये पेंडेमिक की सबसे अच्छी उपलब्धि मुझे ये दिखी कि हम लोग इस तरह से जुड़ रहे हैं और एक दूसरे को हेल्प करने की सोच रहे हैं. वैसे आदमी हेल्पफुल है, लेकिन इसमें क्योंकि डाउन करना है, तो मैं साइकोलॉजी का भी स्टूडेंट होने के नाते दूसरी बात है स्पिरिचुअल. एंड इन दिस लॉकिंग और लॉकडाउन, व्हेन यू आर लॉक्ड इन होम, many people trying to, especially in my country, they are trying to read ancient literatures like Veda, Puran. They are downloading English version of the Vedas, Upanishad, and of course sometimes they are downloading ancient Ayurvedic Grantha. So it gives us the opportunity to understand our traditional values of the literatures and knowledge. ये भी मैंने देखा. और इससे हमें एक और बात मिली कि इसको हम जीत कैसे सकते हैं. तो हम लोग अगेन सेम पॉइंट टू कम, सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै. When you fight together, then we'll win the corona. When for that we need to share our even bhojan and also living. So ये भी हम उसी स्टैंड पर फिर आ जाते हैं. तो बिलीव इन एंड फाइनली द वैदिक लिटरेचर गिव्स अस अर्गला किलक एंड द अर्गला कवच, अर्गला एंड द किलक एंड concept of three tap gives us to the believing in our ability, human ability. इसको भी बिलीव करने के लिए हमें स्ट्रेंथ देता है. तो फाइनली ये चीज जो है हम अपने को गेन कर सकते हैं. तो मुझे लगता है कि ये पेंडेमिक सिचुएशन जितना भी वर्स्ट हो, लेकिन ये हमें अपने एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री के लिए, वैदिक हिस्ट्री के लिए उसको जानने के लिए प्रेरणा देता है. और उसको जानने के बाद में हमें जो उस वक्त का प्रैक्टिस है, उस प्रैक्टिस से हमें सेल्फ स्टीम को इन्हेंस करने के लिए मदद करता है। और ये जो हमारा जो आत्मा की अमरता है, रीइनकार्नेशन है और गुड कर्म है, ये सभी जो है इस पेंडेमिक से फाइट करने के लिए हमें प्रिपरेशन करता है। तो आई होप दैट द this pandemic situation again relating our ancient culture and ancient tradition. So it was my experience about the my experience about the pandemic. I'm not going to the very deep one, but what I learned, because in this pandemic lockdown, I read many books and I enjoyed it. So what I want to share it is that again the Kavach, Argala, and the Killer, and there are three tapas, and Atma ki amarta or immortality of the Atma gives us to the strength for the fighting against the pandemic situation. Thank you very much.
बहुत अच्छा उद्बोधन सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर आपका। और नेट ने साथ दिया, हमारा गवर्नमेंट का है, नेपाल गवर्नमेंट का, लेकिन साथ दिया बहुत अच्छे से। बहुत अच्छा नेट आपका चला इस समय और बड़ा अच्छे से हम लोग सुन पाए आपको सर, इसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। और समय 9 से ऊपर हो गया मेरे ख्याल से। अब हम इस मीटिंग को खत्म करते हैं, यहीं पे ये सेशन यहीं पे ओवर करते हैं। किसी को और कुछ पूछना हो प्लीज पूछ सकते हैं, नहीं तो यहीं पे समाप्त कर रहे हैं। Anybody is there?
Yes.
कमल कुछ है?
Okay.
सर जी सर,
समय हो गया है। I don't want to delay you much.
Sir,
I just wanted to intervene a little bit on the educational aspect, educational crisis that this pandemic has brought, and Professor Saurabh and Professor Alam have discussed. So I wanted to just intervene on that, because we were trying to find out what was the best way to reproduce, the conditions for optimal education system post-pandemic. Because what we are having now, earlier we had a system of education which was based on traditional methods. Of course, there were online methods, but they were not that much considered, important because of limitations. But now all of us are being forced to shift on, to migrate into an online system of education, and therefore a lot of questions arise. So I think there are two pictures here. On one side, we have the traditional picture, and that side we have the new picture of a new system of education we want to create. In the middle, we have the pandemic, the corona pandemic. And what we want to do now, we want to reproduce as best possible here what was here. So it means that we have to migrate all the systems that were prevalent before the pandemic: the quality assurance system, examination system, the knowledge delivery system, teacher training system. Everything has to be virtualized on this side. And I think these are the challenges that we have to address, because we have to see how technology can intervene in that. Teacher training, we have to set up certain institutions which will specialize into assuring that quality is there. Because you see, if, let us say, how much will you trust a doctor who has studied online? Will you go to a doctor who has studied online for an operation? I'm just asking you the question. If you trust the doctor, you are on the operation table and he tells you, I have earned my degree from online, from Harvard University. Will you trust that doctor? If the proper mechanisms are not set for quality, for examination, for knowledge, because you see, just transferring knowledge is not sufficient. The skills have to be transferred. The values have to be transferred. The attitudes have to be transferred. And specific mechanisms need to be set up. I think these are the areas where we should be reflecting, and where this is where innovation will come. This is where creativity will come. And this is also where I think new technologies will emerge, so that ultimately I will be able, I'm sorry, my daughter, she's saying, let's go for dinner. So this is where you see all these, this is a kind of revolution that we have to bring. This is a little bit, I'm giving you a little bit of an, of an avant-goût, we say, of what is going to come tomorrow. So, Sorry. Wait, this is, you see, this is another problem with online.
I discussed this
to
now.
handle
Parents,
both sides.
yeah, now the parents have more responsibility.
So you see, so all these aspects have to be taken. So my point was that, you see, migrating from an old traditional system to a new a modern system, everything based online, is a big challenge, and a big reflection has to be taken. I think it has to be an interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary endeavor, and I hope it has to be a global endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the point. That's the point there. That's why I discuss about the label and the grades, because it cannot be copied for all the subjects, all the education on the degrees. It's very difficult for to. And one more important thing that people were discussing about the teachers training. This I realized when I began my teaching in India. Teachers training, the formal teacher training, we have B.Ed and M.Ed in India, but there is no teaching program for the pupil who have acquired PhD. They un-PhD, they about how to prepare a course plan, how to evaluate, what's the thing to study. So how those would be going and adapting and developing a curriculum plan. That's an interesting thing to know. So that teach training, that's why we bring that faculty development program or teachers development program. Interesting things to know.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
मैडम वाइंड अप करते हैं.
हाँ, अखिलेश सर. अखिलेश सर.
जी सर.
चलाओ.
Sure. Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, रिलेट सर वाइंड अप करिए.
वाइंड अप करिए सर.
पीताम्बर जी कुछ कह रहे हैं ना.
Nowadays we are facing such pandemic. I think
आवाज नहीं आ रही सर.
सर आपकी आवाज स्पष्ट नहीं आ पा रही है.
पीताम्बर जी आवाज नहीं आ रही.
आवाज नहीं आ रही.
वॉल्यूम बढ़ाइए, वॉल्यूम. यस.
अब आ रही है सर आवाज?
हाँ अब आई सर.
हाँ, मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था कि nowadays we are facing such pandemic problems. I think this is the result of blind capitalism and the thought of colonialism. If we control it, then we can control the such problems. Second, we are talking about the online teaching and online courses. But when we think about in India have so many students who belongs to rural areas, who have no capacity to afford Android phone and laptop. In this situation, how can this system will be success? That is the problem in India. Thanks.
ठीक सर. ओके सर. सभी लोगों को धन्यवाद सर. आज का सत्र समाप्त करते हैं.
थैंक यू सर.
कल पुनः
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर. सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
थैंक यू सर.
Thank you, Anilesh ji. Thank you so much.